Welcome to Whiskey Nightcaps, the channel where we do sip before sleep. And I am your host, Jason Davis, back again with another whiskey review for you guys, for all the Nightcap community cats that have been rolling with us from day one of this channel. But welcome to all of you that have tuned in for the first time. We welcome you with open arms. Come in here, get in here. We're not gonna social distance, get in here. Forget that 6 feet. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you go ahead and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and hit the like button on this sucker, because the algorithms stay hating on your boy, trying to bury my videos deep down into the recesses of all the other whiskey reviews. But this channel is special. It's got that spark. All right, so today is a donation day, I'm happy to say. Shout out to Sean Dent, the gentleman who has been rocking with this channel and like a philanthropist or a venture capitalist, has invested in the prosperity of this channel by donating a bottle of Woodinville straight bourbon whiskey. Everybody, give that man a round of applause. Give him a round of applause. He must love this whiskey because he wants it reviewed on this channel for the rest of you to see, and I guess possibly go out and get a bottle for yourself. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so this is Woodinville straight bourbon, NAS. This is a non-age statement whiskey. However, I've read in places that it is about 5 years old, which is not that bad. 5 years old, okay, she's ready. She is ready, she's legal. Now, the one thing that got me excited when I looked at the back of this bottle, because that's one of the first places that I go, and I know it doesn't take much to get me excited, but still, it says that this particular whiskey was distilled and bottled and aged by the Woodinville distillery. Now, typically with the advent of so many different whiskey companies, when you go to the back, they try to fool you and they say, oh, it was bottled in such and such, so you think that they are the ones that produce this whiskey, when in fact they purchased the whiskey from somewhere else and just put it in bottles on their facility. Which, hey, if that's what you do, no problems with you. If it's good, I'll still buy it. However, it gives this whiskey a certain edge, because we know that the people who were involved with this whiskey put their heart and soul in it from the beginning of the process of picking out the grains, which I believe are local grains, then mashing them, distilling them, aging them, and then bottling it. So even if it was straight garbage, okay, I would still have to give them their props for putting that kind of investment into the product. Now, this whiskey is straight out of Washington, straight out of Washington State. It doesn't have that same ring to it as straight out of Compton, but it's straight out of Washington State. Now, I don't know if there's a lot of other whiskey producers out of that particular region, but hell, who cares, right? Now, the people that, produce this whiskey went through a lot of effort to put some stuff on the back of this bottle, and so you have to respect it. The whiskey barrels prior to being coopered, or prior to having the whiskey placed into the barrels, were seasoned in open air and rain, sleet, snow, wind, hail, tornadoes, which is supposed to soften the tannins in the wood, which is where a bitter taste can come from. Some of the barrels were then toasted and then some heavily charred. Whiskey put in, like magic, 5 years later, here you have this product. Now, this is 90 proof, which means it is 45% ABV. So not a cask strength or barrel strength whiskey, even though I do hear that they have that available on site at the distillery. I love the look of this bottle, the simple shape. It's very heavy, solid bottle, old kind of feel to it. Like an old paper used back in the Western days. Look at that beautiful little top there. Okay, that's straight wood all the way around. Then the cork, which is snugly fit inside of this particular bottle. Okay, now we all know there's a few things that trump look. Let's first go into the nose and see what we can bring out. Now, I can tell you, when Sean sent me this bottle, I wasted no time opening it, and I was immediately hit with this aroma. Now, I'll be the first to tell you that I think a lot of bourbons do come across similar. They do, you know, it's not like the Scotch world where there's all of these heavily different varieties of whiskey. Bourbon, you can pick that out of a lineup of 5 criminals easily. He's the one that mugged me, okay? But the aroma that came off of this bottle was just immaculate. It kind of reminded me of my first experience with Rare Breed, even though I'm not comparing the two. That's a totally different type of bourbon to me. But let's go into this nose and see what is there. All right, let's get this thing agitated. I don't know if you can see the color on that sucker there. Beautiful, beautiful amber color. Immediately, you pick up some of your bourbon classics, right? Your baking spices, but intermingled with that baking spice is a orange rind note. Like if there was a really fresh, ripe orange rind that, like the one that you would really want to use for an old fashioned, I'm picking that up here. And there's a sweet smell and maraschino cherries. And this is, sound the alarms, this is a first for the Whiskey Nightcap channel. All the time I hear people saying that they pick up cherry notes on bourbon. I have never in my entire life ever picked up cherry, but today is the first. I guess there's a first for everything, right? But it is definitely there. Followed by a light hint of vanilla, caramel kind of scent. When you walk, like I left the room for a second and I came back in and I could smell the aroma from this whiskey emanating into this room, okay? And it's a pleasant smell. And you know, in those cases, oh, there's some rye there too. There's some rye. Now what's funny about picking up that rye last is that this is 72% corn, 22% rye, and 6% malted barley. So I mean, this is considered a high rye bourbon. I believe that percentage is even higher than Wild Turkey 101. Man, this definitely, this smells delicious. If it wasn't a weekday, I would demolish this. Sean, my man, big ups to you. All right, so let's go in on the palate, swish this thing around like Listerine, see what we can get. All right, so it has a light mouthfeel to it, which, you know, you would expect is 45% ABV. You get hit with a rush of that rye and that barrel spice, rounded off by vanilla on the finish that lingers. Nice little hug. I didn't really pick up the cherry on the palate like I did on the nose. Not as complex on the palate as the nose. The nose had like a lot of different layers pushed in, whereas the palate kind of blended them together and you get the most dominant notes. So we'll let it chill for a second. Go back in for the second tasting. And then we'll wrap this thing up and give you the final verdict on it. You know, I'm not gonna put the handcuffs on you and hold you here all damn day. All right, so it's time for round 2. Let's raise our glasses. I hope you have one too. You know, as you're watching this video, you can't do these videos dry. You have to have something in your hand too. Now, usually I go back in. You know, on this nostril, I'm getting that rye with the caramel. More of the sweetness on this one. All right, let's see, what we got? Yeah, definitely getting the high rye bourbon notes on this one. And I forgot to say, you know, well, I couldn't say because it was during the break, but the finish lasted a while. It did linger which you don't really anticipate with something that's, 45% ABV, but it did linger nicely. And sometimes, the finish can kind of transition into a nasty taste in the back of your mouth, or like a metallic, bitter kind of taste. It, remained in that sweet vanilla kind of realm. There's a little bit of oakiness. There's a little bit of oakiness there on this one. Now I've had this maybe 3 times. Probably the only review I've done on this channel that was a neck pour was the Old Elk wheat whiskey. I typically do not do neck pours on this channel. Reason being, my opinion always changes after I've had the whiskey a couple of times. The whiskey may have been sitting on the shelf in the bottle for God knows how long. So once you open it and it intermingles with the air, it can change the composition of that particular whiskey. And this is no different. On my first go round, I thought it was kind of hot for something that was 45% ABV. But on this third go round, that's pretty much gone away. That's dissipated. It was very smooth, very much so what I would expect from 90 proof. Like I said, enjoyable. When I'm not disrespecting 90 proof, right? It is a good classic bourbon, retailing at about $40, right? So we're not breaking the bank on this one. This could be considered a budget bourbon, depending on where your tax bracket may lie, right? So for some people, that's not budget. So we probably need to be careful on what we say. But for some people, that is a budget, especially when there's bourbons, going for, 80, 90 bucks. Would I have this again? Certainly I would. So like if I saw this and I was out, it'd be something I'd have in the collection. However, Sean, I may have to pit it up against something else. I may have to put your pick up against another pick. Or if somebody were to donate another bottle and I reviewed that bottle, then I could put the 2 donated bourbons against each other. And if that's something that you're interested in, hit me up, man. Hey, listen, whatever you put in my hand will come on this channel. You can bet that. I don't know what. Get out of here. You can't have any. It's my bourbon. All right, man, so Woodinville gets the thumbs up on the channel for sure. We will be back at you on Wednesday with another review. And then remember, on the 30th, that's the last day to enter the contest. If you have not done so, I'll put it right here for you. Make sure to like it, share it, comment it on it to get your name in the hat for a free sample pack from yours truly. All right, man, enjoy your night. Have something, even if it's just a little sip. Whiskey Nightcaps out.